Namaste and welcome to another session of Oneness Festival. It is a great privilege to work through the fourth Global Festival of Oneness. We have been having wonderful sessions from April 25th. We are almost onto the last week of celebrating the life of Shankaracharya. Today, I have a great pleasure in inviting Dr. Ravishankar Gundlapalli to talk on Brilliance of Dakshinamurthy Stotram. And Ravi, welcome. And let me do the introduction first a little bit, and then you can take over. And then look forward to hearing your presentation on Dakshinamurthy Stotram. Ravishankar Gundlapalli did his PhD from University of Michigan, and he is also an alumni of IIT Madras. He is originally from Vijayawada, and for past several years has been residing in Silicon Valley. Dr. Ravi has deep roots in Sanatana Dharma. He considers Jagadguru Adi Shankaracharya as his ultimate mentor, and he works very closely with Brahmasri Samvedam Shanmuga Garu on a day-to-day basis. Ravi is a technological entrepreneur. He is the founder of Mentor Cloud, and he has worked with several companies in the Silicon Valley before. He is the author of a book on mentorship, and he has given keynote addresses globally on topics of mentoring, entrepreneurship, and Bhagavadpada. Ravi is the co-founder of Global Festival of Oneness. This used to be a one-day conference, and he had designed it to be a month-long conference, starting with Shankara Jayanti every year to spread the life and works of Adi Shankaracharya. Ravi also is a co-founder of Know Your Roots with his wife Vani, focusing on rejuvenating and spreading the essence of Sanatana Dharma among the modern generation. It's a great pleasure to welcome you, Ravi, and I'm looking forward to hearing your commentary on Dakshinamurthy Stotram. Please take it away.
Thank you, Prasad Garu. What an honor it is for me to present here in the presence of one of my wonderful mentors, you, Dr. Prasad Kaipa Garu. You have always been an inspiration for me to combine the power of Sanatana Dharma with the modern world that we live in. So you can be rooted in your Dharma, but then start companies, earn wealth, and so that is the beauty that you have first exposed to me. So thank you for the kind introduction. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Kesavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutam Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Mauna Vyakya Prakatita Parabrahma Tattvam Yuvanam Varsisthante Vasadrushiganaidavrutam Brahmanishtaihi Acharyendram Karakalita Chinmudramanandamurtim Swatma Ramam Muditavadanam Dakshinamurti Mede Nidhaye Sarva Vidyanam Vishaje Bhavaroginam Gurave Sarvalokanam Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Namah Pranavarthaya Shuddha Jnanaikamurtaye Nirmalaya Prashantaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Pranams to Jagadguru Adi Shankara for gifting us this wisdom of Dakshinamurthy Stotram to us. And pranams to my Guru, Brahmasri Dr. Samvedam Shanmuga Garu, who I consider an Amsha of Adi Shankara in this age, and the one who gave me much wisdom about Sanatana Dharma and specific insights into Dakshinamurthy Stotram. So I'm sharing a sample of what I learned and internalized into my own understanding. How can I describe the brilliance of Jagadguru Adi Shankara and the essence of Dakshinamurthy Stotram? What I'm doing is taking a spoon of water from the great river Ganga and then sharing with you the taste and experience of that. So these are completely my words. Any inadvertent mistakes or misinterpretations are completely mine. And any good words that you can walk away with today, the credit should go to Jagadguru Adi Shankaracharya and all the gurus who have helped me to connect to great works like this. So I want to start with, Dr. Prasad Kaipagaru explained that Adi Shankara is my role model. So I like to start with this because this was the thinking behind this festival itself. So I find Adi Shankara an amazing entrepreneur and founder. Just like entrepreneurs, he is visionary, passionate, mission-driven. He's a brilliant inventor. We all know the Advaita that brought unity at a very critical time in India. He was a contributor, writing multiple original works, commentaries, and treatises. He is a tireless leader, walking across the country 6 times to accomplish his mission of unity. And he's a humanist. And we all know the stories of the love for others, what a servant leader he is, and his deep respect for his mother. So disciplined to accomplish this much in 32 years requires an immense amount of discipline and how you manage your everyday schedule. And of course, he's a mentor and continues to mentor people, through his works and through his energy that still pervades through millions of sages and scholars around the world. So it is that really, gets me very inspired and why I consider him my role model. So let's start with who is Dakshinamurthy. Dakshinamurthy is the Guru Swarupa of Lord Shiva. So, gurus say that just remembering Dakshinamurthy once a day will make sure your buddhi gets focused in the right direction. So that's the power of this wonderful Murti that has taken avatar just to give us jnanam. Some of the aspects that really blew me away when I first heard about Dakshinamurthy Stotram and heard several pravachanams is how much deep observation has Adi Shankara done. We all have our normal rituals. We wake up in the morning, we go take a bath and do our puja and go around with the life. But Adi Shankara demonstrates his observation of things around him, the mountains, the birds, the animals, and the human life. He talks about how we see the reflection of ourselves and everything in a mirror. He talks about magicians. He talks about how a tree grows out of a seed. He talks about how this universe is spread across the 2 dimensions of space and time. He talks about people having dreams and then waking up and then realizing it's not real. He talks about our sensory organs. So using everyday things that we are all interacting with, he is bringing this immense wisdom to us. Now, each verse, there are 9 verses, including a 10th one, which is called Falasruti, because we live in a world where we all want to know what's in it for me. So Adi Shankara thought about this way back when and also gave a Falasruti saying, if you do this, this is what you will get. And we will spend some time on it later in the presentation. The interesting thing is, in those days, even scholars could not comprehend completely this, what Adi Shankara really meant had the experience or what he wanted to share. It was so profound until his disciple Sureshwaracharya wrote a bhashyam called Manasa Ullasa, the one that exhilarates our mind. And for each verse, I believe Sureshwaracharya wrote about 20 to 30 shlokas to explain. So that shows the depth of the Vedanta that is in a very captivating way in these 9 verses. So let me start with the very first one. Vishwam darpana drusyamana nagari tulyam nijantargatam Pasyannatmani mayaya bahirivo bhutam yatha nidraya yes sakshat kurute prabodha samaye swatmaname vadvayam tasmai Sri Guru Murtaye nama idam Sri Dakshinamurtaye. This inherent musical quality is also something that's so, I'm personally inspired by. All the verses are inherently musical. It's almost like Shankara was singing in ecstasy in those days. Just like Annamacharya, when he went to Tirupati, said, Adivo Alladivo Sri Harivasamu. Or, Saint Tyagaraja or Ramadasu in ecstasy. This must be one of those so it seems like he was singing, and that inherently musical quality in the Dakshinamurthy Stotram is another brilliant aspect. So he starts off this Dakshinamurthy Stotram saying, you and I see the world and experience it every day, right? We see it every day. We firmly believe that this is real, like these interactions we are having, these conferences we are having, and then we have different kinds of expressions. Some days we are happy, some days we are sad, we are excited, we are depressed, we are directly getting impacted by the world. Now, Shankara questions, is this world real or unreal? Is this world outside or inside? Now, we all know that the world we experience on the outside is actually what we are experiencing on the inside. For example, if I see somebody at a distance, is that person there? Do I know? Or is that person's image in my eye and my interpretation is that he is there? So it is very important to recognize that everything we are seeing outside, everything we are feeling outside is a mere reflection of all of those manifestations in our own Atma. Now, this is to make it simpler for us, he starts off with this Vishwam Darpanamana Nagarim. I mean, this whole universe is like a mirror. It's what we see is the reflection. Darpana is a mirror. So if you see, for example, a town, or let's say Niagara Falls in a mirror, you can see the water flowing, you can see the airdrops, etc. But is it real? It is a reflection in the mirror. So what Shankara says in this is, that it is the reflection in a mirror that is non-contaminated. He uses the word nirmalam, not contaminated. And that world is antargatam, it is inside us. So it is very simple. What you are seeing is the reflection of everything that you see in the Atma. And again, I will explain that a bit more. He reiterates this topic for the first 3 verses just for us to understand that what we are experiencing outside is actually on the inside. He gives one more analogy. All of us, we get dreams. I get a lot of dreams. It depends on how the day goes. We all see people, animals, scary things. Sometimes we are seeing some wonderful functions, or everything seems so real. It seems very real. But is that real? So what Shankara says is, Prabodha Samaye, when you are awakened, when you get the jnana, that's when you realize it is not real. So then he says, Swatmanam eva advayam. Means Swatmanam eva, that what is real is that Atma, the Swa Atma, eva, and it advayam, it is not two. So just like the reflection in the mirror is not real, just like the dream in our Swapnavastha state is not real, and it is not real when you wake up, what he refers to as Prabodha Samaye. Similarly, when you attain jnana with the help of a guru, that is when you realize this world is not real. So from the Swapnavastha state, when you awake, then you realize, oh, it was all a dream. Now, but in the dream, everything looked very real. We hear of stories, people moving their arms and limbs because it seems so real. But then when you wake up, you realize, it was not real. So that is what he calls, attaining jnana. So these examples are what I find to be brilliant, because to bring out this profound thought into simple everyday examples. Now, these are only examples to understand. Our guru reiterates, don't think these examples or the essence of the Dakshinamurthy Stotram. Sometimes if I say, hey, I went to London and I saw this, I saw something, people ask, what does it look like? I have to give an example. It looks like this, right? Now, the other person may not fully comprehend. Like if I say, for example, I went to Niagara Falls and somebody says, okay, what does Niagara Falls look like? How can I describe it? So I have to say, you remember the waterfalls in Hyderabad? It looks maybe 10 times like that. So the other person is now trying to interpret, right, how this Niagara Falls is. In a similar way, these examples are meant, our Guru, sort of, reminds that, these examples are there for us to, get a sense, but with sadhana, we get to experience this. So this reflection in a mirror, this, dream state, and all these examples are something that I find, very brilliant. And then he goes on to give another example. Now we all see, trees around us, but where does the tree come from? Bijasya antari, it comes from a seed, and inside the seed, the entire tree existed before, and it exists even after the tree sort of manifests itself. The tree comes out with its own with the shakti that is hidden in the seed, and once the tree is fully formed and grown, the shakti in the seed is spread in every part of the tree. Now this is what he calls as the Maya kalpita desakala kalana in the second verse. So he gives another brilliant example to make this point, and this is one example I think so easy to understand. He actually uses the word Maya viva vijrumbayatyapi maha yogi vayasvechaya. So he introduces this Mayavi. Who is the Mayavi? So let's take an example. Let's take a magician. We all go to a magic show, and all the lights are off, and we are experiencing, the magician is showing that it is raining, it is cloudy, it is hot, something scary is happening, and all of us are experiencing those feelings, and we think it is real. Now, we all know sometimes when we watch, very emotional movies, we tend to cry or we tend to feel the emotions because we think it is real. Only when the movie ends, only when the magic show ends, do we realize, oh, it was just an illusion. It was just a movie, right? So now our Guru says, in the same audience, there are people who are also experiencing this kind of, the sorrow, the happiness, the rain, etc. But they are not, attached to it. They are looking at the magician and appreciating what a wonderful magician is it. Oh my God, look how he created that act. They're focusing on the magician because they know the magic is happening because of the magician. So if you think about it, if anybody says, hey, can you show me God? Is there something like that? Because this universe is existing, somebody has to be doing it. Because this tree is existing, we know that there has to be a seed before this. So this is how he says how a yogi, people like Ramana Maharshi, people like Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, all these great rishis are moving around us. They were moving among people, but they view this Maya very differently. They are, deeply grateful, amazed by the magician, not by the magic show. So again, a beautiful example how Adi Shankara brings this Mayavi into this second verse. This entire, just like a entire tree comes out of this bija, the seed, the entire world comes out of Brahman. And the beauty is the Brahman is in everything, but then he's also aloof from it. He's not attached to it. That's the beauty of it. And but then he also uses a word which is a very important word for us to walk away with today. He uses the word asritan. This bodha, this wisdom is not available to everybody. Now some of us have a PhD. Is it given away to everybody? No, just because it is good, is it given away to everybody? No. Both Dr. Kaipa and myself and thousands of other people have done a sadhana for a few years, and that is how university has given us PhD. In a similar way, this kind of wisdom is only available to the asrita, to one who is seeking. this wisdom is realized. And we all know during this festival and so many times how to seek, Sravana Manana Nididhyasa. And in the 10th verse, Falasruti, Adi Shankara also gives us a simple method. What is the path to realizing this wisdom? Tenasva Sravanat Tadarthamananat Dhyanacha Sankirtanat. But you have to listen intently, you have to understand it, and Mananat, you have to meditate on it, think about it, and even sing. So all these actions, when you are aligned with the desire to learn about the Supreme Lord, that is when all of this will become real. And here is the beauty. Sanatana Dharma's beauty, which I really find fascinating, is we can attain moksha while being alive right here. It is not something you get after you leave this body. So our way, our heritage is so wonderful that this self-realization is possible in this life only. We don't have to go somewhere else to attain it. And so he says, when you follow this reading, understanding, meditating, ruminating on it, thinking about it, pondering over it, talking to gurus, all of it, you will get the Ashtaiswaryas. This is what I see. I'm giving you these beautiful verses, and I'm also telling you, oh, by the way, if you do this every day, or if you do this whenever you can, this is what you will get. Because he knows humans down the road are not going to do anything until it means something to them. So that's the karuna that Adi Shankara has. And he could have experienced it, he could have moved on, but he said this experience has to be, capsuled in a way and delivered to the world. And here we are, thousands of years later, still discussing it. Then he moves on. Another beautiful analogy, which is, very, very amazing. Nana chidra gatodara sthita mahadeepa prabhabhaswaram jnanam yasya tu chakshuradhikarana dwara bahispandate janamiti tameva bhantam anubhat etat samastam jagat. And every verse ends like this. Tasmai Sri Gurumurtaye, O Dakshinamurthy, the one who is in the form of Guru, for me, O Lord Shiva, Namayidam. I salute to you. Now, Nana Chidra means different holes. Ghatam is a pot. So he imagines a pot, or at least he is telling us another simple way to realize this, that we are all one with Brahman, is imagine now there is a pot and it has holes. Nana Chidra means multiple kinds of holes. What kinds of holes? Some holes are in a square shape like this. Some are star shaped. Some are circular shaped. Okay, so now you understand there is a pot, it has holes, Nana Chidra, and there are different shapes of holes. Now let's put a lamp inside the pot. Now when you look from the outside, some light streams are appearing circular. Some light streams are appearing like a square, and some are starry because of the shape of the hole. Now, is the light having the circular shape? Is the light having the square shape? Now we all know, we say it's not the light, it is because of the hole. And now all those lights coming out of the pot, they're not going into eternity, they're actually illuminating the surroundings around the pot. Similarly, what Adi Shankara says is that the light that is inside us, we are able to see the world just like the holes in a pot. We have 7 holes. He calls them Jnanendriyas, the 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, and a mouth. Through these holes, we are experiencing the world, just like the pot. Just imagine, the body is the pot, and the holes are the 7 Jnanendriyas. He says, Chakshuradikarana dwara. Chakshura Adi. Chakshu, who is eyes? Adikarana dwara. With all of these instruments, we are able to experiencing the world, which is being illuminated. Now, that light that is illuminating the outside is the light that's illuminating the world as well. The whatever is the light in us is illuminating. And our Guru actually expands it to further understand. So, again, I mentioned Sureshwaracharya wrote a treatise on it, a Bhashyam, Manasollasa. but how many of us have the opportunity to read it? I've just downloaded the book. I'm going to read it to really understand. But there are so many books written on this. So and so many talks as well. And when you say, I saw with my eyes, I heard with my ears, I smelled something, I tasted something. For all of this, we are using different instruments. And but the same light is going through all of them. So again, here he uses the example of a dream, like in our sleep, we do see things, but then we are not using the eyes, we are using the antakarana. So this is a sort of a brilliant way to really help us understand that this world that we are experiencing through these jnanendriyas is like the holes on a pot. Now, this kind of realization is very, very important when you are a leader for a team or for an organization. Now, I run a company, and this kind of understanding is so critical that we don't get engrossed, into everyday, challenges of the company. When we look at people, when we look at challenges in the company, we got to remain disassociated. We got to really figure out that how do I project myself in a very clean way, without getting too attached to what is happening. So, like a lot of times, again, I can tell you over the last few years, I have realized that you don't have to react every time. So sometimes just observation. If you look at what I started this with, Adi Shankara's deep observation of things happening around him and how he is envisioning this simple truth and giving us examples like this. So sometimes as leaders, we just have to observe. We just have to let things be and stay disassociated from it, and then respond when we need to. We should realize that things happen, and they go. In one of the verses, he also uses the word sunyam viduhu, means certain things didn't exist before, and they won't exist after as well. So at that time, there were so many theories and sort of religions at that time. So he had to really bring out the how those other theories are weak, with stotrams like this. So think again about the simple example of a pot with holes and light in it, and again a excellent example. And again, there are treatises on this by Sureshwara Acharya. And really, once you realize it, we have to sort of dig inside, because as a leader, Dr. Prasad Kaipa has written a wonderful book called From Smart to Wise. It's not enough to be smart, right? You have to move into the realm of wisdom. So you can achieve that level of wisdom by looking within, because I remember I told you our Atma is like a mirror. It is nirmalam. So if you let the real wisdom of Brahman reflect in it, then the real wisdom can be tapped into, and then the way you interact with people, the way you interact with your customers, with your employees, with your family members can be drastically different. And one of the things I learned in one of these talks is Adi Shankara used to be like that, because he went through hundreds of debates in those days, and he was never perturbed when somebody tried to make him feel low. They were questioning about his identity or about his theories. He remained calm, because he had such confidence in his inner wisdom, in his conviction, that even if you remember the epic debate that between Mandara Mishra and Adi Shankara, when Uday Bharati has given them both garlands, and the story goes that whosoever garland becomes less fragrant, he's the loser. Now we all know when we get emotional, the body heat can actually impact the garland, and the garland can all the flowers can become less fragrant and weak. I believe Shankara's garland remained fresh because he had no emotions. He didn't get impacted by whatever Mandana Mishra was saying, and so on, by the arguments. Professor Venkatraman actually said he uses this principle as the Supreme Court judge. So what can this stotra teach us? Again, we will have a conversation. Again, I have the privilege of my guru here, my wonderful mentor, Dr. Prasad Kaipa. And Prasad Kaipa, I welcome you to have a conversation and share your thoughts, because ultimately we are here to bring this small sample of the brilliance of Dakshinamurthy Stotram. And so how do you get access to this wisdom? Is through a guru. And Sureshwaracharya also wrote another wonderful shloka, is Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. There is a difference in the Murti between Ishvara and the Guru, but they are one and the same, like the sky, as he says. So we can read books, we can go watch videos, but nothing like learning from a guru. If you want to feel well for the human body, we can go to a pharmacy and buy whatever medicines we want, but the ideal thing is go to a doctor. Let the doctor prescribe the right medicines for you. In a similar way, this essence of stotrams like Dakshinamurthy Stotram are best experienced and learned through the wisdom of a guru. And later on, I'll give one more example that I find to be very brilliant. Again, it's because profound thoughts, deep thoughts shared with us in a very simple example. He uses the phrase Rahugrasta Divakarendu, means now if the Atma is Nirmalam, why is it then that we don't easily realize it? He says it is because it is covered. Now, how does he show it? Again, I'm sure he as a deep observer he is. He says it is like Rahu and Ketu, covering the sun and the moon, right? We have this, this manifestation that eclipse happens, and then during the eclipse, is the sun's brilliance going down? Is the moon's coolness quality going down? It is not going down. It is, sun remains as it is, the moon remains as he is. But then once that cover by Rahu Ketu, or the shadow, however we want to say it, is removed, the full brilliance is seen. So in a similar way, our Atma, which is Nirmalam, is covered by this ignorance, and only through sadhana. And once we again he uses the word Prabodha Samaye multiple times in Dakshinamurthy Stotram. So how do you get this awakening? Is through mentorship, is through surrounding yourselves with gurus. And he reminds us that there is one common element that is going throughout our life. Because I remember that I was once a child. I remember I was once a youth, once in early career and mid career and so on. What is that that common element that runs throughout? That is what you have to connect with. That is that remains steady. So whether you are engaged in a family discussion, or as a leader, or as an entrepreneur, you got to realize, stay true to that inner wisdom, and find out how best to respond to a situation by not reacting immediately, but by being calm, by having that self-realization. So I welcome Dr. Prasad Garu back on camera. And Prasad Garu, again, you have done a immense amount of work connecting the Sanatana Dharma and the Vedanta to modern leadership principles. So these examples that I have found to be brilliant in Adi Shankara. Again, let me show you another simple example, and then Prasad Gar, whenever you're ready, you're welcome to come back. So another analogy that I wanted to share today is, again, this example of this light reflecting and so on. The very first one, Vishwam Darpana Drishyamana Nagari example. So our Guru gives another expanded example of that. So let's see someone who's appreciating this red wall, right? He's saying, oh, this wall is so bright, it's beautiful, right? So he's thinking the wall is bright and the light belongs to the wall. But then a second person comes and says, hey, no. That light does not belong to the wall. It is coming from this mirror. Just look behind. The light is coming from the mirror, so the light belongs to the mirror. Okay, so then, okay, I didn't realize that. So the light does not belong to the wall, it belongs to the mirror. Now a third person comes and says, no, just look up. This light is coming from the sun. It is reflecting in the mirror and falling on the wall and illuminating the wall. So you see, the light that we see is the light from the eternity. Now, what for us to sort of mentally comprehend is that universal light is the Brahman, and the reflection, that Nirmalatvam, is the Manas, and it is reflecting onto the body that we express to the world. So again, simple analogy, right? Vishwam Darpana Drishyamana Nagari, to expand it with another example. So these are some few thoughts that I wanted to share. But Prasad Garu, now that you, in Dakshinamurthy Stotram is all about self-realization, about realizing that inner wisdom, about how ignorance covers the inner Atma. So love to hear some of your thoughts so we can have a brief conversation.
Sure, Ravi. I think you brought some important points. What I took away from your talk so far are about 5 points. One is, number one, you can say a lot through silence. So what I took away from this is that when we know when to be silent, and as a matter of fact, not taking a position, let us say there are 2 people in our organization who are having a conflict. When we are in a leadership role, can we actually listen to empathically from both sides of it? And when somebody says one, I look at the other, look at their body reactions. And when the other person responds, I look at the first. Just by quietly looking at and listening to each of them, there is a way in which I can provide certain gravitas, and I might be able to get the truth by just those people talking. So that's one possible way in which a leader can use silence as a way of mediating and working with it. That is one thing which you mentioned. Maunam, right?
Mauna Vyakya. In fact, the Dakshinamurthi's knowledge itself, in fact, there is the very first one we talked about, when people had the darshan of Dakshinamurthy Stotram, he was not speaking. He was silent. And all the rishis were sitting at his feet and observing him. And some of the interpretations I heard is whatever had to be communicated with words, these rishis have already gained that wisdom. So it is only through the silence that this wisdom, mauna vyakya prakatita. Right? So absolutely, silence has such a power to communicate your emotions and your wisdom.
And there is a deeper perspective that I also understand from what you are saying. Like when you say, there are different commentaries on Dvaita, Advaita, how to apply this wisdom into practical way. All of them may be there. Like, for example, the AI right now, everybody talks about ChatGPT, HeyPi, Bard, lots of them. They are all having their own interpretations and comments and all kinds of things that are happening. But they are arising at the mind level. There is a consciousness that is actually keeping quiet. So in some respects, you can look at the silence, the Chit Shakti, the consciousness from where it emerges. It can silently look at various type of what you might call disturbances that are arising and conversations that are arising at the mind level. Just like various munis and various maharshis have had various questions that are coming in, they can completely be dissolved in the consciousness of silence. So to a certain extent, when Dakshinamurthy silently looks at, through his silent face and his smiling silence, completely eliminates, not only answers their questions, eliminates the doubts in their mind, that it is not at the level of the mind that they need to look at, it is the level of being that they need to operate from, is another thing which I am understanding from what you are saying. So to a certain extent, we need to really begin to look at where is all this purpura generating. Can I come down to the place of quietness? Can I come down to beyond the various manas and buddhi and chitta and all of them? Can I come down to the atma level? Because that is where everything is one. So I also take that away, that Dakshinamurthy Stotram is one of the deep and meaningful commentaries on non-dual nature of the seeker and the sought. And even in the first one, like Viswam Darpanam, the world is just a mirror. And the idea of, just like Maya is something that is coming out of the Mayavi, as you said earlier, there is no separation for the world from the person, the Brahman himself. So it is not like we had conversations on this Oneness festival, whether there is a Upadana Karanam or Nimitta Karanam, how did the world emerge? Actually, it is not different.
It's not different.
It is not something that is separate from the Brahman. So that non-dual distinction is something that I believe Dakshinamurthy Stotram brings out beautifully. So the examples that you took, whether it is Rahugrasta idea or Bijasyanta Rivankuro Jagadidam or Nana Chitra Gatam, when you look at all of them, so it is the knowledge is within you, knowledge is within us, and that knowledge is coming through Chakshuradi Karanadwara Bahispandate. It is coming out through our Gnanendriyas and Karmendriyas, but the Gnanam, Atma Gnanam and Brahma Gnanam, that is what actually makes us shine. Like the mirror that you just showed, the wall, it is neither the sun, nor the mirror, nor the wall, but the person who is looking at. Maybe from their consciousness, that light from within is falling on the external objects. I think, so the idea of who is asking the question, who is inquiring, where is this question coming from? I think especially these days, when we are mentoring, when we are coaching, when we are working with people in the Silicon Valley, I think the points that you brought out are extremely important. The leader has to look at it and say, it is not what question that is being asked, who is asking that question. At the level of the inquirer, the inquiry, and what is being inquired, if we can look at that intimate connection, then all what we have is that compassion that Adi Shankara brought in for everybody and everything. My sense is, I think in mentoring, we need to look at that, and as leaders, we need to have that compassion, because two employees might be having conflict, as we just talked about, but ultimately it comes down to both of them belong to the same company. Yes, they may have difficulty in how they want to execute. I cannot take sides. That is why the Maunam becomes extraordinarily important. Let them figure out at the level of execution, but at the level of strategy, at the level of vision, all the three of us are aligned. If we can help people to look at, each of them have different ways of doing, but what they want to do is the same, and whom they want to serve is the same. If we can begin to help those kinds of things, Dakshinamurthy Stotram can come alive on a day-to-day basis in running the companies. So thank you for bringing all these wonderful points.
Fantastic. In fact, the magic you had mentioned, right? Maybe the wall is getting illuminated by the inner light. What is the beauty is whatever is being created, whatever is being illuminated, you are able to visualize it as a reflection with the same energy inside. Because if the light is not there, this eye, just because the eye is there, I was reading up, right? The same eye, once that light is gone, doctors refer to as an eye from a cadaver, right? Why is it a cadaver eye versus it's the same eye before and now? Everything is great. All the nerves are there, cells are there, but it is that light that is illuminating. So the light that Atma that is making this universe possible is the same Atma that is making you realize that also. That's the beauty of it. And that's the oneness, like you said, to all my employees, Prasad Garu, I always say, we all work for one purpose, right? If you direct any of the conflicts in the team to that purpose, suddenly all the conflicts vanish, right? Whereas it's you like that. So we all work for one purpose. The company also works for the purpose. Company is just an entity, but we're all doing something towards that one purpose. So always keep your eyes on that one purpose. And then sometimes, like you correctly said, all the ripples you see in the ocean, in the lake, will go away over time. Just because you see a ripple, you don't have to go and try to do something. Just have to be patient. The ripples will go away.
That's exactly what Subhash Yadavji is asking a question, saying, you lived in the Sanatana Dharma as well as worked successfully in the corporate world. Can Sanatana Dharma be projected as an alternative to modern industrial way of life and living? What would you say about that?
Yeah, I say absolutely. In fact, that is really what Dr. Kaipa and me are trying to do, is that Sanatana Dharma way is the only way, is the original way. Everything else has been manifested into you and me. In fact, few talks ago, I had the privilege of hosting Sri Mahesh Chandra Sharma ji, whose talk he presented the works of Deen Dayal Upadhyaya. How the Western world is always out of conflict, you and me. It's your way or my way. And Deen Dayal Upadhyaya, in his research, I believe he brought out two important people that make Sanatana Dharma so profound, so eternal, so fresh even now. One of them is Ardhashastra Chanakya's work, and second is Jagadguru Adi Shankara. And he came up with this, he explained this concept called integral humanism, Ekatma Bhavana, and I was just blown away, and I want to do some work with him. This integral humanism is how we are. Like the air we are breathing is the same air that is being taken by the trees, by our pets, by our furniture. So from the beginning, we have always been one with everybody around, everything around. This you and me concept never existed. It came out of this, I can call it Abrahamic religions, where it is like, hey, they have a different philosophy to it. And we need to eliminate that from the world right now. And Sanatana Dharma is the only way. And I openly, in fact, next week I'm going to Poland, and in all my talks, I am very proudly saying, guys, we are one. The day you and me, you draw a line, there is no solution. It remains a conflict, and we all, whoever asked the question, all the areas where there are conflicts is because of you and me, a difference. not feeling that integration.
Not
So
feeling.
definitely
There
a
is-
great model for leadership.
That's right. That's a good way to look at it. There is also a question. I am not able to be consistent in my sadhana. How can I progress? What would you say to that? How do you use Dakshinamurthy Stotram and Adi Shankara's lessons to help people to progress?
Yeah. Now, consistency, I mean, it is probably, I mentioned why I look at Adi Shankara as my role model. I mean, in 32 years, traveling 6 times across the country, writing so many books, participating in debates, still taking care of his mother, it shows that there is a level of discipline. So I will say a trick that my guru played on me. I used to do Sandhya Vandan, and then I always had excuse. Oh, today I slept late, that's why I woke up late. So one day he told me, are you eating every day, lunch and dinner? I said, yeah, without fail. Without fail, those are happening. So he said, okay, if you are able to do that without fail, why is this? So it really hit me personally. I felt like a fool. What is this? I am doing something so, you know, uh, so mundane to feed this body, but where is the food I'm giving for my mind? So since then, so something will hit you, something will make you follow that consistency. Now you don't have to be hard on yourself. It is a long process, but it is a beautiful process. It is a process that once, like today, every day, I mean, I'm making sure I go through my routine. In fact, Sri Venkatraman in one of the talks just about a week ago, somebody asked this question. He basically said he's a Supreme Court judge fighting cases like Sabarimalai, Article 370, some major cases. He's probably reading 10,000 books to really argue with all the lawyers. He said not a single day he misses the routine that was given to him by his guru. So the consistency in your sadhana, find a guru that you really resonate with, and it will magically happen. It happened to me. It happened to Sri Venkatramanji. It will happen to you as well.
Thank you. There are a couple more questions. One is, are there any books that help us to absorb the essence of what the Dakshinamurthy Sutra is or Shankara is saying? Anjan Nandiji is asking.
Yeah, so there are lots of books. Again, at the Advaita Academy, we're trying to create a page with all the links to the books that we are being referenced. So for me, there are a lot of talks and I found one book actually. Let me share my screen. It's called the Dakshinamurthy Stotra with Manasollasa, and somebody has done a printout of this and put it on. So this book is unbelievable. It talks about the entire Manasollasa by Sureshwaracharya. So you not only can learn Dakshinamurthy Stotram, you can see the expansion of Manasollasa by Shankaracharya's prime disciple Sureshwaracharya. So this Manasollasa is one book that I found to be very valuable. And there are plenty of talks on YouTube. So start small, 15 minutes a day, and then you'll slowly be engrossed into it over time.
Okay, thank you. And so what you are saying is books are one way to go deep into some other subjects, and there are several books. But currently in the 21st century, using some YouTube videos, for example, even for past 4 years, there are lots of talks that have been given just in the Oneness Festival. And in the Indica Moksha itself, there are lots of talks that are going on. Those might be other ways of, as if you are listening to the teachers, you can do that. That's an excellent suggestion.
Yeah, one example I want to give, right, is that there is plenty of food in a restaurant, but if you're not hungry, it won't mean anything. Yeah. So first is to feel the hunger. So thank you for the question. That means you have the hunger already. There is plenty of food. There's plenty of wisdom out there to sort of go after.
Okay. There is one more question. Dakshinamurthy facing the south, and is there a way you can elaborate on, how the concept of Dakshinamurthy as the manifestation of Shiva, the benevolent teacher, Anything more about that you can say, or can you connect, or do you have any opinions on Hayagriva? How does Hayagriva differ from Dakshinamurthy?
Yeah, now I don't know about Hayagriva and Dakshinamurthy. That I think I leave it to gurus, and we can connect offline, and I can do some research. But Dakshinamurthy itself, Dakshinyam is a very, very powerful word. Our guru once explained to me Daya and Dakshinyam. Daya is having pity or compassion on someone, and Dakshinyam is the ability to remove that pain that somebody is suffering. So it is Dakshinyata is the ability to move for something for the other person, whether it is a doubt, whether it is a question, and again, there are examples, right? We might feel pity for a lot of people. Like somebody falls down, there may be another person who's feeling pity. That's called Daya. But that's not enough. Somebody has to pick him up. That's what is called Dakshinyata. It's the ability to help. So all of us should be filled with both Daya and Dakshinya. Okay. So Dakshinamurthy is the one who will move us towards the path of realization. And you're absolutely right. You mentioned that's why Dakshina is south, because he's towards the north looking south. So that's why all the so-called Panchangam says east is the direction for wealth, north is the direction for knowledge. So when you pray Dakshinamurthy looking towards the north, he is looking at you. Even in a temple, this is followed when you do the Pradakshinam south. You see Dakshinamurthy is on the first quarter of your Pradakshina. So that is the best I know, that the Daya and Dakshinyam, and Hayagriva, I would pass on that one. I need to learn about it.
There are a couple of things that come to my mind. One is the idea of Dakshinam. In Hindu tradition, we talk about it as the realm of ancestors, spiritual wisdom, and death to a certain extent. So sometimes people also say Dakshinamurthy is bestowing the knowledge and especially the spiritual guidance to overcome ignorance and attain liberation. That is one thought that comes true. Okay. That is something that is transcendence and liberation is one thing. And I also feel, if I remember right, the Hayagriva is the person who has brought the Vedas into, and he really propagates the knowledge and the Vedic wisdom. So there are only connection that I am aware of is both of them. Hayagriva talks about the Vedas and knowledge. He is also worshipped for knowledge and wisdom, whereas the approach of Dakshinamurthy is spiritual, non-dual through Maunam. So both of them, spiritual and Vedic knowledge, in a different ways they propagate. So that's an interesting and important thing that we can take it forward. There are
so I just have one more question, okay, and then I can.
Okay. One more question, and then you can close. And there is a question about, is it necessary? I mean, and how Advaita can be practiced? What are different stages and difficulties one may experience that hinder the progress in bhakti and meditation? Is that necessary? First of all, is Advaita? So those are some, I think the question is long and it is not as clear. Guru should help explaining how Advaita is to be practiced and what are different stages and difficulties that may hinder the progress. Anything you want to say about that before we close?
Yeah. Again, there are plenty of talks. The whole Advaita Academy or Indica Moksha has plenty of talks on Advaita. It is not something you have to learn. It is something you have to unlearn. Yes. Like we have been brainwashed into thinking that we are different. If you really look at our Sanatana Dharma, we all lived in harmony with everything around us. And recently I was at a seminar, and I asked the other person. He asked me, "Can you define who a Hindu is?" And I was just telling him, "Look, how are we? How is the earth, completely, healthy and so on because of the sun?" So we consider sun as somebody we have to justly say thank you. If somebody is giving you something every day, you just have to say thank you. How are you? How are you alive? There is air. Now, you may be in any religion, whatever you pick, but you need the same sun, you need the same air, you need the same water. This tree, it takes your carbon dioxide and it gives you oxygen. It does to you, it does to me. So what we have done is we are one with this. And we have just called them as devatas. We have called them as forces. Did you ask for the sun? Just like how you ask for an iPhone or a book or a car or a TV or a laptop, you never asked for these things. They came into your life. How grateful you should be. How grateful you should be. So this oneness is our natural state. This duality is an unnatural state. So through the help of a guru, you have to go back to your natural state. You get away from this sort of the dual state that we have been. In fact, one of our efforts is try to imbibe this from very early on in children. So you never have to go and undo some things, right? Some damage has been done. We have to undo this now.
Thank you. Thank you very much for bringing in the modern way of applications and how we can look at Dakshinamurthy in the current context of leadership as well. I appreciate this conversation, and thank you for bringing Dakshinamurthy into my day today again. Appreciate it. And have a wonderful day. And today,
Thank you very much. I just want to say, my pranams to the Indica Moksha team for this wonderful opportunity. This is the fortune of Sanatana Dharma, that a work that is 2,500 years plus old, is still here, fresh. We are still discussing it. So these are, timeless, works of wisdom, and we should be very fortunate that they are still here. And it is our responsibility to study them and to spread them to the next generation. So, may this eternal Sanatana Dharma Vahini continue to nourish the world and bring back the awareness of oneness. Har Har Shankara, Jai Jai Shankara.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ravi. And you have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
So, tomorrow morning, India time, 7 to 8 a.m., we have a fresh talk by Nataraj Manashinde. It looks like he also works for Apple, my old company. And he talks about Upasya Murtis as envisioned by Shankara Bhagavadpada in Prapanchasara. I'm looking forward to hearing it. If you are in United States, it will be this evening. Convert the time based on where you are in the United States, and look forward to all of you attending these talks and making his talks interesting and successful. Thank you for being here and supporting the Advaita Academy and Indica Moksha. You have a wonderful day or evening based on where you are.